Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about graphing parabolas in vertex form and in intercept form. All right, let's get started. Now don't write this down. Just the other day we talked about graphing in standard form. When we talk about standard form, we're going to talk about y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now when we graph in standard form, we always have to find our vertex. In order for us to do that, we take the opposite of b divided by 2a to find our x value. And what we do is we plug all of this in for each x value, and we get our y value. Okay, that's how we're going to do it in standard form. Today, we're going to talk about another form called vertex form. Now, if we recall back to when we worked with absolute value, we had little shortcuts. If we saw there was a plus 2 on the outside of our absolute value, we would go, oh, okay, that's going to go up 2. Same thing holds true for when we're graphing our parabolas. If we have a plus 2 next to our x squared, that means we're going to go up 2. So we move on to the next one. We have a minus 4 here, so we're going to go what? Down 4. Over here, if we had a minus 2, we're going to go down 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do not write this down, okay? You don't have to write any of this down, all right? Just a couple examples here, okay? On this one, see how it's inside our absolute value? Or if we're talking about parabolas, it's inside our parentheses. These are the ones that are going to make us move left and right. If it's minus a number, we're going to move right. So in these ones, we're moving right 5. On the next one, since we're adding 5 inside our absolute value or inside of our parentheses, we're going to move left 5. And finally, if we have a negative in front of our problems, we are going to have our absolute value or parabolas open down. So here our parabola is going to look like this, and our absolute value would look like this. All right, here we go. This whole slide, ladies and gentlemen, I do need you to write down, okay? Make sure you write this down. Vertex form, y equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. Now, if the parabola is whenever we have an x squared, we're going to have things translated horizontally, which means from left or right, depending on what our h is. And it's going to move vertically, which means up or down, depending on what our k is. Now our vertex is always going to be hk. Now if you recall back from our absolute value, is going to be the opposite of h. And then my y value is going to be my k. Now, when I mean opposite, if I say that h was minus 3, we're going to say, all right, just 3. If I said it's x plus 2, we would say it's going to be negative 2. All right. Axis of symmetry is always x equals h, so whatever that is going to be. If a is positive, it's going to open up. If our a is negative, it's going to open down. All right, make sure you have all this on that page written down, okay? All right, example number 1 with graphing using vertex form. Make sure we get all this written down in our notes, please, okay? Here we go. Y equals 1/2 the quantity x minus 3 squared negative 5. Ooh, vertex. For this one, opposite of what's here, so I'm going to have 3, whatever's here, negative 5. So I have 3, negative 5. No need to show work on this one. This one is going to open up because our 1/2 is positive. Axis of symmetry. Now remember, this is always whatever our x value is. So it's x equals 3. We can also determine if it's going to be a max and min and our value of our max and min before we continue. Since we're going up, we're going to have a minimum. And our value, remember, is always our y value. So our y is equal to -5. So it's going to be -5. Now before we can do our domain and range and increasing and decreasing intervals, we need to finish our table and graph. So I'm going to do two numbers that are higher than 3, two numbers that are lower than 3. So we're going to use 4, 5, 2, and 1. And then I'm just going to plug them in here into the original equation. So 1/2 parenthesis 4 minus 3 squared minus 5. Type that into your calculator. You're going to get -4.5. Then 1/2 parenthesis 5 minus 3 squared minus 5. And I get -3. Come down here. 1/2 times the parenthesis 2 minus 3 squared minus 5, and I'm going to get -4.5 when I type that into my calculator. Then last one, 1/2 times the quantity 1 minus 3 squared minus 5. Type that all into my calculator, and I'm going to get a -3. Now I can graph this. So I'm at 3, -5. 4, -4.5, 5, -3, 2, -4.5, 1, -3. Put this together. We're going to have our nice parabola here. Label our vertex 3, -5. Put in our axis of symmetry, which cuts it in half right here, a nice dotted line. X equals 3. Now we can do our domain and range. Domain always, same as always, x such that x equals all real numbers. And our range, y such that y, since we're going up, is going to be greater than or equal to, and then it's always our y value. So -5. Oops. Now, we always start over at -infinity. We end at +infinity. So if I'm here, starting right here, I have to go down. So I'm going to start with my decreasing intervals. I'm starting at -infinity and I'm going all the way to my x value, which is 3. Once I get to 3, I have to turn around and go up. So I'm increasing from 3 to +infinity. All right, there's our example in vertex form. Make sure you got all of that down, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you decide that you're not such a fan of vertex form and you want to do standard form instead, we can turn our vertex form into standard form. So please, please, please make sure you write this down as well, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to have y equals -1/2 times the quantity x plus 8 times the quantity x plus 8, because that's what happens when we square it. We multiply times itself, plus 35. So y equals I'm going to distribute my -1/2 first into my first one. So -1/2 x minus 4 times the quantity x plus 8 plus 35. Now I have to distribute here, so I'm going to get y equals -1/2 x squared. Then I'm going to get minus 4x. Come over here, distribute here. Minus 4x minus 32 plus 35. Combine like terms, I get y equals -1/2 x squared minus 8x plus 3. And now I am in standard form. So if you like to graph in standard form more than vertex form, you can change it. All right, here we go. Our next last form of graphing today is going to be intercept form. So when we graph using intercept form, it's going to look like this. Make sure you guys write all this down, okay? Y equals A times the quantity X minus P times the quantity X minus Q. My x-intercepts are going to be P and Q. The axis of symmetry is halfway between P and Q. So the equation to find the axis of symmetry is x equals P plus Q divided by 2. Now once we know our x value, we can find our y value, which will be our vertex. When we're working in intercept form, we're going to want to find things in this order. First, you need to figure out what your x-intercepts are. Second, you need to figure out what the axis of symmetry is, so what x equals. Third, you're going to have to find your vertex. And then we can go back and find the rest of our features that we need to find. All right, make sure we get this all down. All right, here we go. Graphing using intercept form. Make sure we get this in our notes, ladies and gentlemen. This whole graph and all of its features. First thing I did really quick, does it open up or down? We know that there's a negative in front of this, so we're going to open down. Next thing is our x-intercepts. This is very, very important. We think about x-intercepts, that's when we let y equal 0. So here I could have x plus 4 equals 0. So if I'm solving for x, I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides, so x equals negative 4. Since we're graphing, we're going to work with points, so our x-intercept, negative 4, 0. And our other one, our y value is also going to be 0. So we're going to have x minus 2 equals 0 plus 2 to both sides. X equals 2. So here are my two x-intercepts. Next thing we need to do is find our axis of symmetry. So we're going to take these two numbers, add them up. So x equals negative 4 plus 2 divided by 2. So negative 2 divided by 2, we get negative 1. So when we're talking about a vertex, we're going to have negative 1. Now to find our y value, we'll just plug it in. Y equals negative times negative 1 plus 4 times negative 1 minus 2. So we have negative 1 times 3 times negative 3, and we're going to get a positive 9. So right there, that is our vertex. Since we're going down, we're going to have a maximum. And our value, remember, it's always going to be our y value. So y equals 9. Now the beauty of intercept form is that we don't need to have a table. All we have to do is graph. We're going to graph our two x-intercepts. So negative 4, 0, 2, 0. And our vertex, negative 1, 9. Graph that, connect them together. And we are done. Only thing we have to add is our axis of symmetry. Right here, x equals negative 1. Now from here, domain and range. Domain, same as always, ladies and gentlemen, x, such that x equals all real numbers. Range, y, such that y, since we're going down, it's going to be less than or equal to our x value, 9. All right. Increasing, decreasing. We always start at negative infinity. So here I am. To go, we have to start by going up this time. So we're increasing from negative infinity all the way to my x value on my vertex. So negative 1. Once I get to negative 1, I have to go down. So I'm going down all the way to positive infinity. All right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Graphing using intercept form. All right, last thing. Please make sure we have this down. Once again, if we do not like intercept form, we can change it to standard form. So we're going to start here. I'm going to distribute my 3 to my first part. So y equals 3x minus 12 times the quantity x plus 6. Now I'm going to do some more distributing here, and I'm going to get y equals 3x squared plus 18x minus 12x minus 36. Combine like terms. Y equals 3x squared minus, plus 6x minus 36. And now we're in standard form. So if you don't like intercept form or a vertex form, you can always go back to standard form. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Bye.